Okay, we're up to Kuf Yud Beis, Amid Beis. We're up to the Gemara. We had a whole Mishnah describing the state of a cheresh. We said a cheresh is kedushi de rabbanan. Whether it's a cheresh or chereshes, it's only kedushi de rabbanan. They don't have das. So kedushi is only de rabbanan. Amar Rami Barchama. Maishna cheresh v'chereshes to the kinol rabbanan nesuin. That the rabbanan talking the suin for a cheresh v'cheresh. That there is kedushi de rabbanan. U'maishna shaita, right? V'shaita v'shaiteh. The shaiteh v'shaitah like the kinol rabbanan nesuin. That they weren't mitakin mat. They weren't mitakin the suin. In other words, there's by shaita. They both don't have das. Neither a cheresh has das nor a shaita. We always the classic cheresh shaita v'katan. We link them together. Cheresh shaita v'katan. We link them together. Yeah, we see it in halacha by the rabbanon. They made a takana for this kedushin by a cheresh, but why not by a shaita? That's if they don't have das.
Where are we, Rabbi?
We're on Kuf Yud Beis on the base, about 5 lines off from the bottom. We're beginning the Gemara there.
Thank you.
The Tanya shaita v'katan shenasu nashim if a shaita or a katan marry who mesu and they die. They don't fall to yibum. In other words, they weren't married, and therefore they don't fall to yibum. However, charesh v'chareshes the kaima takan. Okay, the end for the Gemara. Charesh v'chareshes the kaima takan to the rabbanon. If you tell the rabbanon, tell them what to do, they'll fulfill it. Right? The kinol rabbanon the suin. Shaita v'shaita the loy kaima takan to the rabbanon. Why? They in odam dar im nochesh b'kfifa achas. A person doesn't live with a snake in a basket. Like the kin rabban nesuin. That's the Rashi. Rashi explains. Cheresh v'cheresh the kin rabban nesuin. The Tani Masnisa and our Mishnah learned shet sricha is chalitza. When you require chalitza, alma yesh nesuin v'kedushin l'cheresh. So obviously they made the takana. Now Rashi is asking, how do you know that there's takana? So you see that if there's chalitza, obviously there's kedushin to make the zikah de rabbanan. The afagav, Rashi guys, afagav is always a kasha. The afagav, the larv bardeya, who even though a cheresh is not a bardeya, with the rice ain't kinyan a kinyan, nonetheless, what you require chalitza. Shaita v'katan shenasu nashim the same puturas ben chalitza mediyim. The kaimet takanta rabbanon, a cheresh that's kaimet that they'll keep the takana. Shedarkan liya shalom beinehem. In other words, what do you mean they'll keep the takana? The takana of nesuin, guys. The takana of nesuin. Doesn't mean they'll keep the Ramah din. It means we're metaking the suin for you. So if we're metaking it for you and you'll keep the suin, I mean there'll be shalom bias. There'll be shalom bias. The kana over here is that since the Rabbanan knew that if they're metaking for the cheresh, they're metaking the suin, they would keep it, so they were metaking it. Right? I feel cheresh from chereshes. The koshken kishehi pikach. Certainly, when he's a pikach, his wife's chereshes, or vice versa. In other words, even if they're both limited, one's a cheresh, one's chereshes, certainly one person's a pikach, one person's a pikachas. Well, they'll keep it. Aval shaita, I feel pikachas the shaita. Even if it's a healthy person with a shaita, the shaita pikach, the other way around, ain't shalom beinayim. The koshken shaita l'shaita. So in other words, that's a pashit. They were attacking something that would work. A shaita doesn't work, right? It doesn't work, but cheresh work. Why? What's the comparison? The ein adam dar pinachish bekafif achas betoich chupa achas. You picture the cobra coming out of the basket, right? So you're being together in the basket is nishka. It's not so good. Okay. Anyway. So that's the difference. You want to know the difference why there's nesuin by a cheresh, because they would keep the nesuin. Mashen keina shaita would not keep the nesuin. Therefore, what says the Gemara weiter? Umayshna cotton like the kin rabban nesuin the cheresh the kin rabban nesuin. What's the reason now? A cotton they were not metakin nesuin, but cheresh yes. It says cheresh le asi leklal nesuin. A cheresh that will never come to nesuin to kin rabban nesuin. Cotton, the asil l'chal nesuin, like the kin rabbanon. Cotton, that's just a matter of time. Will come to nesuin, so they want to attack nesuin. You'll ask for a katana, the asil l'chal nesuin, the kin rabbanon nesuin. A katana, a girl, even though she'll eventually come to be a naira, by geres, a ketayla, like l'chayra, they want to attack nesuin. If you tell me it depends upon futures, so just like you have a future for a male, you have a future for a female. So why does a katana, in fact, have nesuin? The reason why we attacking the suin by a katana, they should not know minig hefka. So she has a husband that's going to protect her. You don't have that concern. What's the difference? That again, they're both the su and the rabbanon. It's a very, it's a very nice gemara. It's comparing all the su and the rabbanon. It's comparing how can the various halachas are different. So we're saying a katana that me can do miyan and a chereshes can't do miyan. Why? Either both the su and the rabbanon. If the su rabbanon, there's no, for all intents and purposes, there's no kinyan, there's no chalois. So what's the difference? Kim Cain. Who's going to marry a chereshes? You go ahead, you invest in your wife, and all of a sudden one day she wakes up, she's gone. She's gone. Adarabba. She goes and she marries somebody else. We said, Ein imi and God mizu. She marries somebody else. So l'chayra, it's we want the chereshes to get married. So to facilitate that, we prohibit her from doing mi'yon. Why? Because if she can do mi'yon, no person's going to marry her because she can go ahead and escape. So I'm not about a katana. Why about a katana? I'm not katana. There's a gavul. Look at Rashi. Look at Rashi. The second line down. Katana gavul yeshla. There's a gavul that they can do miyan. By chereshes, it's endless. She can do miyan anytime. There's no cutoff point. By a katana, where there's a cutoff point, the guy will go ahead and say and marry her. The sava mifaisinala. If she's upset, I'll go ahead and appease her. Kol shaita. At Shiyava's man miuna until what you pass the time that she could do miyan. So even though you're not worried that a person will marry the katana, because again it's not ad not ever. What's the word? Ad nauseam, not ad nauseam. Ad infinitum. Okay, good. Umayshna katana the ochel b'truma. What's the difference? The katana that she can eat truma. She marries, this is Truma D'Rabbanan. We saw earlier in the Masechta, she marries the Kohen, the Katana only eats only D'Rabbanan, right? Maishna Katana D'Ochle B'Truma, Umaishna Chareshes T'Lo Yochle B'Truma, Ditnan, Hey Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, Al Chareshes Shehisiu Avia, a Chareshes that was married off by her father. Now that's Kedushin D'Oraisa, guys, right? It's Kedushin D'Oraisa. The father marries you off, that's Kedushin D'Oraisa. Sheyoitza Beget, you need a get. You don't need a das, you need a get. Now, how do you know that a chereshes can eat truma? Because it went from subject to subject. In other words, if in fact the chereshes could eat truma, why did you just say it didn't vis-a-vis get and then leave it and then say, and why can the katana eat truma? It must be because the chereshes can eat truma, right? In other words, you would have stayed within the same realm, the same discussion, right? You would have stayed at. No, I don't. No, I don't. Okay.
Rabbi's in charge.
One. Okay. Anyways. Okay, guys. Anyway, guys. Anyway. Okay. So now, I'm sorry for the intrusion. Anyway, so why does a katana eat and a chereshes don't? Why does a katana eat truma and a chereshes don't? It says no gezerah. You're worried that a Kohen may feed a chereshes truma. So now it's truma d'Rabbanan. So what are you worried about? For lechel, cotton lechel and veilus who? We're going to get into the sugya tomorrow about the cotton eating the veilus, where there's a mitzvah to go ahead and separate them from that. So you're a Kohen, cheresh, you're married to chereshes, you can't eat truma, gezerah, you may come to go ahead and feed a truma. Fred the Gemara, so feed a truma. What's the big deal? It's only truma d'Rabbanan. So no, what you're worried about, maybe you'll go ahead and come a cheresh pikachas, which is the raisa, because she's healthy. Fred the Gemara, cheresh pikachas nami lechu b'truma d'Rabbanan. Since only truma d'Rabbanan left, says no, gezer dimo asi lechu b'truma d'raisa, and that's misi b'dei shemayim. So by katana you don't have that concern, but because you're not going to mix it up with a gedola. But by cheresh and chereshes, you come to mix it up. So long Rashi, you'll be able to skip it. Umayshna katana, this like ksuba, or katana has a ksuba. Umayshna chereshes, the less like ksuba. And notice that by katana there's ksuba, by chereshes there's no ksuba. After the Gemara, the imkain nimni v'loy naspila. If you who's getting the better thing over here, the chereshes or the guy? Chereshes. We're taking we want to end the shidduch crisis. We want to give this girl a chance, right? So if you're going to require a ksuba for her, a person's not going to marry her. On the other hand, if there's no ksuba, she's more prone and more apt to get a shidduch. It won't cost you anything. So therefore, the katana minol on this like ksuba. How do you know katana gets a ksuba? How do you know katana gets a ksuba? Ditnan, enes, a girl who refuses the marriage, a katana. A shnia laroyas that we saw in Daf Chaf Aleph, a grandmother, right? The islandess, a woman who can't have children, ain't look ksuba. In this case, they don't have ksuba. The enes doesn't have ksuba because she is against his will. She's leaving. Shnia doesn't get ksuba because they canceled. You shouldn't get married in the first place. And the islandess is a mekach tois. Islandess is a big deal, right? So in all these scenarios, ain't look ksuba. Avoyoytze beget, but you would go ahead and be moitze beget. The katana yesh la ksuba. The katana yesh la ksuba. Katana does have ksuba. The chareshes, okay. The katana yesh la ksuba. So that's how you know. Fred Nor chareshes on the less like ksuba. And you know chareshes does not have a ksuba. The Tanya cheresh v'shaita shenisu pikachas. Cheresh v'shaita marry a healthy woman. Afa pishin is pakeach. Cheresh even if the cheresh rises up, then the shtatfa hashaita and the shaita becomes normal. Ein lehem aleim klum. They can't go ahead and claim a ksuba. When they married, since they were married, they didn't get a ksuba, they can't claim it. However, ratzu l'kaimon, if they want to keep them, meaning if after they got normal, they did a bia, then yeshlam ksuba, then they would get a ksuba. But you see from over here, until they're not normal, right, they don't get. And even when they're normal, they wouldn't get, because at the time of the kedushin, they weren't normal. Only if after they go ahead and they consummate the marriage again in a healthy state, would you reinstate a ksuba. A pikeach that marries a cheresh or a shaita, afilu kasav lameya mana. Now you don't have to write a cheresh or shaita anything, right? Right? You don't have to. Remember, he said we don't want people refusing to marry. So what does this person do? He goes ahead and he writes a ksuba for our Meyamana ksubasa kayemes. It'll be fulfilled. Because this guy wants to go ahead and damage his property. In other words, you don't have to give a ksuba, but if you do, you do. You're not the brightest bulb in the circuit. It's costing you some bucks. Says the Gemara, Taima deratza. The reason why he has to pay the ksuba because he wants to. Haloi ratza. If he doesn't want to, ain't law. She doesn't get. You know why? Them Cain, no, it's a good friend. They're not going to marry you. Fred the Gemara, if that's the case, Ihachi pikachas lecheresh letakin loksuba. Them Cain mimni v'loy nisbei. A healthy woman, right? They should be metakin to the cheresh in order to go ahead and facilitate. Again, a cheresh doesn't have a ksuba, right? The pikachas doesn't have a ksuba, right? Good. Now, question: if we want to go ahead and have the cheresh marry, why don't we say you have to give a ksuba to a woman? Why should she marry you? Because you want to take care of him also. It's just the reverse. Just like we want to marry off the woman, and when we marry off the woman, you don't get a ksuba. When the man marries a healthy woman, she should get a ksuba. Or else, why should she marry him? Says the Gemara, Yoisa me ish roitza lisa, ish roitza linase. Very famous, my Chazal. More than a man wants to get married, a woman wants to get married. I always say that women want to get married and men need to get married. Maskamendi. Good. Ahu cheresh, there was the cheresh, the Havi b'shavisa, the Rav Malkiah. She was in the neighborhood of Rav Malkiah. Now, since Rav Malkiah was in charge of this cheresh, right? And Nasvei Isasa, he married this cheresh off to a woman. The Kosovla Arba Meya Zuz Min Chasei. And I guess he was the guarantor of the state. He wrote a ksuba, even though it was necessary, wrote a ksuba of 400 sus. Mamish double the amount. Amar Rava, a man chacham k'Rav Malkiah, has smartness of Malkiah. The Gavar Rabbo, he's a great person. What did he do? Ksavar ilu ratza shifcha l'shamshay. If the guy wanted a shifcha to take care of him, right? Miloi zavninaloi, when he that bought her, Now, kolshkin hacha dikatarti. You get both. Yeah, this is the Gemara's can go for. Go, honey. Why did you learn today in share? Well, I'm not sure this is the one you want to bring home, right? Anyway, so yeah. So you get both. You kill two birds. So in other words, even you could save money, but in the long run, as my grandmother used to say, tire is billig and billig is cheap. Billig is tire. Because cheap is expensive and expensive is cheap. That's what she used to say. Yeah. What? Rami, what? What do you mean? What?
Is the best.
What?
He's the best construction. Too.
Best construction guy, right? Rav Chia Barashi, Shmuel says Rav Chia Barashi, name is Shmuel. Eishes Cheresh, Ein Chayav Aleim Asham Talib. Okay, guys, in the parsha of the Torah, just a little derech hakdama. If a person is over an isser that would carry with an isser of karis, if he does it b'shogeg, he brings a chatas. El Masechta Krisos that discusses that. What happens if he's mesupik? He's not sure if he did an aveira that's a chiv karis or misidei shemayim. So he brings an asham taloi, but it's an asham that's suspended. It's suspended till he finds out at a later state. If he finds out at a later state that he was over on the chatas, then he has to bring a karma chatas. But until then, the Gemara Rashi tells us this will protect him. So this is not now. If let's say it's this woman is a suffocacious ish, so chayra might be an asham taloi. We're discussing the status of a woman who is a derabanan, right? We're discussing the status of the derabanan. Some Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Shmuel, says Rav Chia Barashi in the name of Shmuel, Eishes Cheresh, Ein Chayav Molei Asham Tali. An Eishes Cheresh, you're not Chayav on an Asham Tali. So if a man is not sure, right? He's Eishes Cheresh, he's not sure. Rashi says the name is Safik Eishes, she's Safik Chayav Boidas, Safik Aimba, Allah Asham Tali. The Vadai Ein Loi Shum Kinyam in a Torah. In other words, there is no ishus to go ahead and mechayiv you Asham Tali. So again, so why would Asham Tali be? If b'shoigeg a man would be with this woman, b'shoigeg would be with this woman. If she's an eshes ish, he has to bring an Asham Tali l'chayra. If he's not an eshes ish, then not. So since he's mesupik, you don't know. There's no even suffix over here. There's no suffix. Why? Because the kinyan derabanan is not a kinyan deraisa that mechayiv you a carbon. Lema Messiah, I'll bring you a proof to this. Lema Messiah, I'll bring you a proof to this. Chamisha loy yisroimu. There are 5 people that should not take off truma. Then tarmu, and if they do take off truma, ain't truma and truma. It's not a good truma. The Eluhain, who are the 5? Cheresh 1, Shoita 2, the Katan 3, Vatarim Esheina Shaloi. Someone takes off truma that's not his 4. Vayvikechavim Shetarim Shal Yisrael Afilu Brishus Yisrael. And even if a guy b'shlichus goes ahead and takes off, ain't truma say truma. Says the Gemara, so what's the raya? What's the raya? That it's not good truma. Now, if it's a suffix, guys, at least it should be a suffix taking of truma, right? It says ain't truma say truma. Yeah. So look, if you look at Rashi says, right? You see Rashi, who the Amar Rebbe Lazar? It's about 6 lines up. Look at the line above that. Kitani Mia, nonetheless, we learn Cheresh ain't truma say truma. The truma of a cheresh is not a truma. Umuteres lazar, and the zar can eat it. If he's suffik who, then if it's a suffik truma, you have to go ahead and say it's truma, and you have to take off again. But the fact they said ain't truma say truma, it must be the cheresh is what? It's not a suffik. He's nothing, guys. That's the raya. Lema Messiah, guys. It's a raya. He goes ahead. He's mekadesh anisha. Someone accidentally is with this woman. Garnish with garnish. What's the raya? Because his hafrasha truma is garnish with garnish. If it was a suffix, there'll be a suffix in the truma. So it'll be a suffix in the isha. You see a raya from truma that it's garnish with garnish is not anything. That's a raya. There's one like Messiah from truma to ashes ish. Says the Gemara, you have no raya from truma, right? Why? Maybe mishum hu da'amak Rebbe Laza. He says like what? Shmuel says like Rebbe Laza. The Tanya Reb Yitzchak Oimem Mishum Rebbe Laza. Trumas cheresh, let's say to chulim, they should suffer. Right? You have no raya. The Shmuel Enach Nami Shmuel could hold that what? That it's a suffix. It is a suffix. In other words, and you would have to separate truma again, and you couldn't eat and Zar couldn't eat. Fred the Gemara Yisrael like Rebbe Laza Asham Tolim Nami L'chayev. If Shmuel holds like Rebbe Laza that it is a suffix, then why, if his man is in doubt when he's with the chereshes, maybe what you have to go ahead and with the cheresh's wife, maybe you have to go ahead and bring an Hashem Talui, right? You're telling me, guys, we're zustelling Truma and Eishes Ish. We're zustelling Truma and Eishes Ish. You're telling me initially you want to bring a raya, just like there's no Hashem Talui, there's no Truma. No, Shmuel called like Rebbe Laza, there is Truma. So if Shmuel holds like Rebbe Laza, then how could he say that what? That you don't bring an Hashem Talui? Says the Gemara, Hashem Nami L'chayiv, the Inyan Chaticha Mishtei Chatichas. Okay, guys, outside. Again, the Hashem Talui is a Gezeres HaKasav, according to, there's two opinions. You eat something, you don't know what you ate. You're with an Isha, you don't know her status. It's one Chaticha. That's one opinion to bring an Hashem Talui. There's another opinion. You'll only bring an Hashem Talui if there's a possibility of you not doing that Vega. In other words, you got two pieces on the table. You think they're both kosher fat. Turns out one of them is chalev, and you're unsure which one you ate. But you need two chatichas. With women, it would have to be two women in the house, and you're not sure which woman you were with. It has to be two. So Ken Zayin over here, the reason why you don't bring Hashem Talui is not because it's a suffix in the cheresh, is because why? It's one chaticha. Masha'en came by, so therefore he could hold it's a suffix. You want to bring a raya that the fact that you're bringing Hashem Talui is why? Because there's no, it's garnish mitgarnish the kinyan of a cheresh. Ken Zayin, no, the kinyan of a cheresh, I'm in doubt. If you're in doubt bringing Hashem Talui, I don't bring Hashem Talui in that doubt. That doubt is only one. I only bring Hashem Talui when there's two. And since there was only one woman, not. Okay? So that's the Gemara's teretz. So, no, if you had two wives. If you had two wives, right. I'm not sure which one I'm with, right. It has to be. Says the Gemara. So Umi boy Rebbe Laza, Fred the Gemara, Umi boy Rebbe Laza, you want to say Shmuel is like Rebbe Laza ben Shemua, Chaticha mishtei chatichos? Do you think that you need what? To be chayiv in Hashem Talui, you need two. I'll show you he doesn't hold that way. But Tanya, Rebbe Laza Omer, Kvi or Koi, Chayavim al Chelboy. Okay, Hashem Talui. Guys, outside Yediyah time, we know that the chaylev of a behema is a chi of karis. The chaylev of a chaya is muta. A deer's chaylev you could eat. We have a suffix what the status of a kfi is, a koi. It's an animal. Machlokes, whether it's a behema, it's a chaya, or a berry b'fnei atzma. Famous machlokes. Now, says Rabbi Elazar, if you eat the chaylev of a koi, you're going to have to be in Hashem Talui. It's only one chaticha. It's only one chaticha. You want to answer up. The reason you don't bring an Hashem Talui, because you have to have two chatichos, and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar himself says to bring an Hashem Talui, you only need one chaticha. So therefore, if that's the case by the Isha, which is one chaticha, you should bring an Hashem Talui. Like the way your mahalach is. So back to the original question. How can Shmuel say that if you bowl on the Eishes of a Cheresh, you don't bring an Hashem Talui? If he holds it's a suffix, you should bring an Hashem Talui. Why? Because he holds like Rebbe Laza. And we've proven Rebbe Laza from Kai holds you don't need two chatichas, you only need one. And an Isha is only one. So how come Shmuel, if you're telling me, Bishlein, if you tell me it's nothing with nothing, there's no suffix, I can understand why you don't bring Hashem Talui. But you want to tell me that no, he holds like Rebbe Laza, that what? That it's not that's a suffix, that there is a kinyan over here. And therefore, there's a suffix, you bring an Hashem Talui. Because why? Because Elazar holds that what? That you don't need two chatichas, one is enough. And for the Gemara, Shmuel Sova Rebbe Elazar b'chadu, Polyglot b'chadu. Guess what? You're not locked into saying he agrees with Rebbe Elazar across the board. He agrees with him in one place, and he disagrees with him in another place. Why does he agree with? That it's a suffix, that the cheresh is a suffix. Why does he disagree with? You need two and not one. You need two and not one. Therefore, the reason why, with your what, the ashes of a cheresh, that you don't bring a korban Hashem Talui is not because it's a suffix, is not because it's not a suffix. The reason is because why? It is a suffix, right? It is a suffix, but why? But I need two chatichas in order to bring Hashem Talui, and I only have one. Okay. Ikad the Amri other say, very kshma. Ikad the Amri other say, Amar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Shmuel, Ashes cheresh chayav muleh Hashem Talui. The opposite. You would be chayiv in Hashem Talui Ashes cheresh. You would be chayiv. Meisivei chamishalei troimu. Right. So now, if you're telling me it's a suffix, his truma is not a truma. So if his truma is not a truma, it's not a suffix. His action's nothing. In other words, we're going the opposite direction now, guys. Now it's a kasha. What was the proof in the first pshat is the kasha in the second pshat. If you're telling me by the isha that you taka a chayiv in Hashem Talui, why is truma not a truma? And if the Gemara says like Rebbe Laza, he also like Rebbe Laza. In fact, that what it is a truma. That is a suffix truma. And therefore, okay, guys, good. Any questions? Good, clear. A lot of ideas. Again, boy Ravashi, my time of the Rebbe Lazar. Rebbe Lazar who says that guy's a suffix. Now, there's two ways to view the suffix. Do you view the suffix as straight, meaning what das does he have? He always has the same das, but it's a very weak das. Or you vote no. You're mesupik at what state of das he has. Sometimes he's normal, sometimes he's not. My nafkamina, we'll see in a second. Boy Ravashi, my time of the Rebbe Lazar, mifsha pshitale the cheresh daita kalishta, that we're pushed that the das of a cheresh is literally a weak das. Who? Umiu misafkale, he daitet selusa. If his das is solo, it's clear. Oiloi daitet selusa, or it's not clear. However, uloilam chada daitahu. In other words, to the extent of what his suffix is, to the extent of what he understands. But whatever he understands is consistent. It doesn't vacillate. It doesn't go back up. It's always the same, right? Oidilma pshitale de daita kalishta, v'loi daitet selusa. It's pashut that he has a weak das and not a clear das. For hachayin the timer, why is he mesupik by Ashes by Asham Toli? Kivan the itim cholim, since there are times he's healthy, the itim shaita, and sometimes he's off the wall. Lamay nafkamina, lahoitzi ishtay beget. Amid chada daitahu. If you say he's always consistent, kikadushin ken kakerishin. Guys, whatever level he was when he's Makadisha, he's the same level when he divorces her. Like the Chachamim said, she went in with Remiza and she goes out for Remiza, right? The same thing. The Amid itim cholim itim shaitim, then you got a problem. Right? Kedushay matzim Makadish, but Gerushay loy matzim Megarish. You know why? Maybe it was Makadisha when he was totally clear and it's Kedushin Daraisa, and then you can never go ahead and divorce because he was not in the same status again.
Would you have that suffix and kedushin itself?
Right.
You never know.
Again, so since you never know the get, you wouldn't be able to go ahead and give her. Since it exists the possibility that it's a kedushin deraisa, because maybe he was healthy at the time. What's your problem?
Because if
You would have to ascertain that his exact same status when she went out when he went in. How could you do that? How can you do that? In other words, you're saying like this, I'll match it up. Just like sometimes he's healthy, maybe he's not healthy when he divorces her. You can't do that.
You have to think worst case scenario.
Again, to break a kedushin to anashis ish deraisa is a very, very severe thing. You can't do that. If it's the same, no matter what it is, it is. But if it's different, let's see Rashi. This is what Rashi says. Lahoitzi asishta beget cheresh meikaroi l'Rebbe Lazar im yachal l'garish oiloi. That would be the nafkamina whether the guy who's a cheresh initially, whether he can do a gerushin or not. The bishleim l'Rabbanan the pshita lay the mitzvah you could. Why kidamin maslisan kishem shekainis beremisa kach mitzvah beremisa. Aval Rebbe Lazar the mashvele suffik mai. But Rebbe Lazar was mashvele suffik. What would the din be? Okay, if you look at the Rashi before, it says Eloheinu time of the misafkele daita shu cholim legami. Maybe it's totally healthy. The daita tzlula and his das is clear. The chashin and shem b'shas kedushin cholim he was healthy. So therefore, then you have to worry about that. And that's nafkamina. And the Gemara says teku, we remain unclear. Okay, so that's the sugya of cheresh. That's the sugya of cheresh. The cheresh is the rabbanon, kedushin the rabbanon, linyan yibum. We had a whole mishnah, different scenarios, right? And now we get to the person who's deranged. These are sugyas. These are shash sugyas. So it said nishtatis who if he loses it, then lo yaitzi, you can't go ahead and divorce her, right? We can't divorce her. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. Dvar Torah shaita miskareshes. Dvar Torah shaita can be divorced. Midi dehave apakachas bal karcha. Just like a pekachas, you can divorce against the will. In other words, you do not need the das of the divorce of the woman. So therefore, the shaita that clearly the woman that does not have das, you should be able to divorce her. However, nonetheless, you should be noig a minig hefker. In other words, we want to protect this woman. She's obviously incapable of protecting herself, and they want to protect her. Now, hechidami, what exactly is what kind of woman are we talking about over here? She knows how to watch a get. And she can watch herself from being taken advantage of. Ella must be speaking. She does not have to know how to watch. She doesn't know how to watch what a get, and she doesn't know how to watch herself. Right? So Dvar Torah, Shaitim Miskareshes. So Torah Shaitim Miskareshes, right? And so Loiki de Atzma. So end. Good. Now, since she can't watch her guests, can't watch herself, and we're worried about people being like minute hefker, you have to keep her under your jurisdiction that she should be watched. Now, Dvar Torah Shaitim Miskareshes. Fred Bimar, on that point, you just said that Dvar Torah that she's divorced. Ami de Rabbi Yanai, the Nasam Biyada. It says Chasala Sefer Krisis for Nasam Biyada. You write a Sefer Krisis and you give it to a hand. Mishi Yesh Yad Legarish Atzma. That's a person who has a yad, a hand to divorce herself. She doesn't have a yad. Again, if she can't go ahead and watch her get, she doesn't have a yad, right? V'tanid Rabbi Shmuel, it says v'shilchami beisa, and you'll send her away from your house. Misha mishalcha ve'ena chayzeres, you'll send her away and she won't come back. Yatzazu will exclude this woman that since she's deranged, shemishalcha, you send her away v'chayzeres, and she will come back. So, Fred the Gemara, what do you mean Dvar Torah Shaitim Miskareshes? Right? In Dvar Torah she can't. In other words, I brought two psukim guys that said you can't do it. One, she doesn't have a yad. Guys, in order to have a get, you have to get into her rishus. How do you get into her rishus if she doesn't have a yad? She doesn't have a chatzar yad. If you hold, she doesn't have the capability of right. In addition, after you give the get, it has to be final that she leaves. But here she's coming back. So what do you mean, Dvar Torah she could be divorced? Even Minat Torah she can't be divorced based upon Pesukah of Nasam Biyada and Meshulchim Beisai. And for the Gemara, like Tzricha, the Yadas Lishma Gita, the Eni Yadas Lishma Atzma. Okay, she knows how to watch her get, but she doesn't know how to watch herself. So very good. Now, Dvar Torah Shaitim Miskareshes. You know why? The Yadas Lishma Gita. She knows how to watch her get, guys. So she knows how to watch her get. Then she is obviously right. She has a yad. For Rabbanan Lifka, Rabbanan said, "Do not divorce her." So it's again the ukimta is a woman who could watch her get, but she can't watch herself. Rabbi, it's meduyik also that the charesh is only the Rabbanan. The Ktani Gabe Dida. It says by the chareshes, nishtatis, if she loses it, if she goes off, if she loses her mental capacity, lo yotzi, then you can't divorce her. The Gabi Didei, and if he loses his mental capacity, in other words, he gave her good kiddushin, and then he loses his mental capacity, la yotzi alamis, she can't go out forever. Why do you say the word alamis, guys? You know why? Because it's the raisa. In other words, we go ahead and switch by the male to female. We added a little knech. Why do you add that little knech? What's the difference over here by the cheresh, the normal person becoming abnormal? That the Ketani Alamis, Hasan by the female losing it, the like Ketani Alamis, Shmamina, Hadaraisa by the male, it's the Raisa that you can't divorce the Hadarabanan. Hashem came where it does says it's the Rabbanan by what? By the woman. So if a man loses it, it's the Raisa can't get divorced. If a woman loses it, it's only the Rabbanan. Now, what have been Nuri say? Let's go back to the Mishnah on Kufya Beis on Beis. 3 lines down where it gets wide. 3 lines down where it gets wide. Rabbi Yochanan and Nuri. Why is a woman, if she is a cheresh, gets divorced? But if the man becomes a cheresh, he does not. So Amrullah, they told him, you know why? A woman gets divorced willingly and unwillingly. Now the question is, what's the given over here? Is the given the man or the given the woman? What's the given over here? Is it the man that, in other words, Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, does he understand the man as being the one? We understand why it's a good divorce. We don't understand why the issue he doesn't, or no, he understands why the issue could be divorced, but he doesn't understand the man. In other words, is it woman's lib or not? Exactly what is it? So that's what the Gemara is going to discuss. Here's the shaila. Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, ish pshitale, that it's pashut to him that a man that's a cheresh, right? That a man that's a cheresh cannot divorce his wife. The isha kami boile, why or isha could be divorced. Idilma isha pshitale, by an isha it's pashut that she could get divorced. The ish kami boile, why he can't get divorced. Tashma, if the amrulei, when they said to Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, Eina doima ha'ish hamegarish leisha hamiskareshes, you can't compare a man to a woman. Why? In other words, so how can you compare a man to a woman? So it seems that he understood the woman, she gets divorced and not divorced, and he didn't understand the man. Shmami na ish kami bayale. So from the dialogue, we can ascertain that he did not understand why a man can't divorce. Says the case where the father married off the Araisa, and then we said, and the case was with Rabbi Yochanan and Gugada, the father married off, Abzu Kayotzeba, that even this is similar to that case. It's mashma, he did understand the man. Says the Gemara over there, Abzu over there, you understood why the man couldn't. Says the Gemara, Abzu Kayotzeba, Shmami na isha kami boile. So Ella, Rabbi Yochanan didn't understand either one. Rabbi Yochanan did the Devreim Kamalahu. He was saying to the words of the Chachamim, Lididi, according to me, Kihechid Ishlay Matzi Megarish, just like the man can't divorce, Ishanami Le Megarisha. El did Chu, Maishna Isha, Maishna Ish. What's the difference? So Amalei, ain't a Daima Isha Megarish, Isha Amiskarish. You can't go ahead and compare the two. Okay. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi, Medus Rabbi Yochanan Guda Amal Edim. A person says to Edim, Ro get Zeh Shani Nice in law. Look at this get. He says to the two guys in get, we pass an Edim is Sira Karte. The Edim that are there at the time the get is given over. It's machlokes whether Edim Mesira, Edim Chasima Karte is the Edim that is signed on the get, or the Edim that are present when the get is given over. So these were passing the Edim Mesira Karte. So he says to Edim, listen to this. Ro get Shani Nice in law. Look at the get I'm giving her. And then he turns to her and says, Kinsi Shtar Chayv Zeh. Take this Shtar Chayv. In other words, he fools her. He's giving her a get, but he's giving her a get, and she thinks she's getting some type of financial document. She thought it wasn't the get. We don't care. Why? We don't need her das. You can divorce the chareshes. You don't need a das. So therefore, since she thought she was getting a get and it wasn't, you don't need a das pshita. What's the chiddush? I might have said that he said, take the shtarchayiv bituli batle. He was mevatel the get. A person can be mevatel the get. So I might think when he said take the shtarchayiv, he's being mevatel the get. Kamash malon, since he said to the Edim that what look, I'm giving her a get. He's not mevatel it. You see the batle. If you really battle it, le'edim have you kamalu. He should have told the Edim. Lo yomer le'edim le'batle le'midi. What's the reason he told it since shtarchayiv? Is mishum machmas kisifusa hu dekamalu. It's because what he was embarrassed. So therefore he was embarrassed to give a get. So he gave her what, it's like a subpoena. Like we'll stop over here.